there. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Coda Country Chats podcast. Today, I have Onoleigh with me. How are you today?
So well, thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. And I am so excited that you're joining us just so we can hear a little bit more about your most recent single release. Okay Later dropped November 1st. Tell
Yes.
us a little bit about the writing process of that song.
No, absolutely. So the whole writing process with my most recent project, I would say, it's all very LA based and Nashville based. It's kind of if they had a child, a love child, it
Yeah.
is the music that I'm putting out now. And it's been very exciting. There is kind of an element of literally flying off to LA and sitting in a studio there and kind of like creating in a very different way than I'm used to, which is much more, writing and creating the actual song as it's happening. And then as I've come to Nashville, kind of diluting it down into more of a guitar based, acoustic situation. Nashville, they
Yeah.
start the other way around, which is very, very interesting, very much on an acoustic guitar, and then they build it up. So that's been really interesting in
Yeah.
itself. But Okay Later, if you really listen to it, there's a lot of pop elements in it. And Okay Later, honestly, the title really was just coming from me kind of expressing things that I was going through, and the title just kind of rolled off my tongue. I said, sometimes I just wish people would let me feel my feelings. I'll be okay later. And my co-writer Sam sees, and she was like, wait, that's the song. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, okay later. And so we kind of formulated that over that. And I wanted the anger of the song. It's very much my very first cheating betrayal song. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
every country artist needs, their version of Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats.
Oh, yeah.
And that's very much this song for me. And so I think the music really does parallel sonically whatever, we're saying, and the emotions felt behind it. The bridge especially, it gets really high up there in the rafters with the notes and things like that. So
Oh, yeah.
very proud of it. But overall, for sure, it's a journey.
Well, in listening to it, it starts off with that banjo, like, bow, 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 to like
Mhm.
give you a little bit of that like Nashville roots sound. But then hearing the vocal, I mean, I get what you're saying about the Nashville LA love child. Like, I love
Mhm.
the style that you bring to the track.
Mhm.
Tell me about the recording process. I know you worked with a very esteemed producer on this track too. So go ahead and tell
Yeah.
us all about that.
Yes, so his name's Emil Gantos. This man has got just a brain. When you meet people that are just that great and you don't really understand what's going on in their brain, and then all of a sudden it just happens. And it was kind of my first true experience with someone, kind of bringing me along and saying, hey, you got this, just trust me on this, hit these notes, try it. Worst case, we don't love it. Best case, we love it, we go with it. And he was really holding my hand through a lot of these bigger notes, the production and whatnot. But I was actually out there for the Grammys this past year, and I was out there with my attorney, and we were, experiencing all fun things. And he's like, hey, I just want you to meet somebody. Let's just take a meeting. No pressure at all, but he's got some really cool sounds. You guys should connect. So we bopped over there, and of course we started talking. We found out that we both had our first job at Monocle's Pizza. We're
Oh,
both from Illinois, which was very cool. So in that moment, we were like, I'm going to take that as a sign. Okay. You love the French dressing. I love the French dressing. So anyway, after that, he's like, when can you be here? And I was like, I don't know. What are you looking at? 2-3 months from now. He's like, no, I'm talking about next week. Can you get out
oh,
here? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I dropped everything, bopped to LA. We were going to start with 2 songs, and then we ended up knocking 2 songs that we loved out in the first day. And then the first
wow.
4, and then I came back the next week, so we did 4 more. So it was a very out of nowhere kind of just click that happened. And again, Emil is just fabulous with the different tones that he uses. And then ultimately, after we got kind of the bassist track, I really liked the organic instrumentation that Nashville brings. And we then brought it over here and had some of the best studio musicians kind of put their own spin on it. And so it really brought the human into the music. So that's pretty much the process there, if you will.
That is so cool. It's interesting to know like how 2 geniuses at work kind of like merge, if you will, and create this new idea. Because I will say, I don't. I'll have to ask you this too.
Mhm.
From the 4 songs that you guys kind of put out, is Okay Later the first one that you've released from that session?
No, so
No. Okay.
Higher Standards, yeah,
Okay.
was one of them that we wrote.
Yeah.
Drink and Cry also, and then Okay Later. Drink and Cry was the first one we wrote, and we'll
Hmm.
chat about that one. That was like the
Yeah.
very first song. Okay Later, I believe, was the first um, the I think it was in the first group of singles,
Yeah.
yes, where I kind of went right in and I was, giving them all my song ideas and whatnot. And this was the one that just kind of crept out of nowhere. And we said, okay, we're
Yeah.
going to follow it. So, yes.
For sure. Well, then let's do that little segue. Let's talk a little bit about Drink and Cry, because this is one that we featured on our new Music Friday playlist. And it
Oh,
was one I remember specifically back in the month of September playing over and over and over again, because I was like, oh, this is awesome. I have to have
thank
this
you.
girl on my show. So yeah. So again, same writing process. Tell me, what was different about Drink and Cry? It's obviously a very different vibe of the song.
Totally.
But yeah, tell me where that inspiration came from.
Yes. So, unfortunately, all these songs I wrote in LA are very much based off of real life events, true stories.
Oh my
I think
gosh,
some of
true
it,
story. Yeah.
it's like so sad, but in hindsight, when you're mentally over it, you kind of look at these as like a timestamp of what did I go through at the time? What were the emotions that I was feeling? And then it's almost this feeling of relief because I can truly look at that as a past tense moment. And like, yes, I
Yeah.
still feel the songs when I perform them and I can go there, but it's not really, we're good. We're better now. But at
Right.
the time, specifically Drink and Cry was just what it sounds. I was kind of doing on the play of, I told my friends, I said, you never have to worry about me drinking and crying or drinking and driving,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have to worry about me drinking and crying. And especially at the point in my life, I was like, you'd have just a glass of wine and they would see my eyes start welling up and they're like, Onoleigh, not again. And I'm like, y'all, we're going through it today. And I think that was a very, relatable experience that a lot of people have gone through, being over your ex, being over somebody completely when you're sober and you're like, oh, my senses here. And then the minute you have some alcohol, right, you're like, I'm going to call them. It wasn't it was, you know what I mean? And you like justify these things with yourself. And then
Yep.
again, you sober up in the morning and you're like, either good thing I didn't call them or why the heck did I call them? And so it was this, this like introspective thought process going on of like, just I'm not easily distracted, but I'd be lying if I acted like you don't cross my mind is kind of how the song starts. And it's really just this like internal fight of please don't let me screw it all up because I'm finally over you. I'm 2 weeks dry, kind of the play on words of like
Yeah.
I've been over you and all that kind of stuff. So very
Mm-hmm.
cheesy, very fun. I love this song. It's very much my favorite to sing live.
Yay.
And we just sang it on Today in Nashville, which was very fun a couple days ago. And yeah,
Cool.
it's a good one. But I very much love the song, and I found a lot of people, unfortunately, fortunately, find a lot of solace in it and understanding. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. And like you said, I think that's why I was like, not that I'm in a place of like, I need to cry and drink and be sad about a relationship right now. But it was one of those where I'm like, yeah, I felt that before. Like that really hits home, and I think that a lot of people do. And so that's pretty awesome that you were able to translate that into a song for all of us to enjoy.
Thank you. I'm very much trying to make my music a lot more vulnerable and relatable. When I first moved here, I was very much like, what would very much like what would Carrie do? What would she keep it very composed? Like Carrie is a very composed, beautiful, beautiful star. She was like my biggest.
Yeah.
I looked up to her for years and years, and I still do. But I realized myself as an artist, I really truly believe pan demands to be felt, and through my music, I think it's kind of therapeutic for a lot of people if you're just kind of honest with where you're at in the moment and you don't sugarcoat things. And so again, that's with Okay Later, with Drink and Cry, all of these songs that I've been putting out, they're very much, like I said, timestamps. So
Yeah, timestamp for sure. Well, and that's good that, you kind of live in that moment for a bit and then you move on to the next moment, and the moment there will bring you joy or bring you sadness, and then you can kind of use that next moment and move on and have new songs. So
Lily
how
Pad,
cool.
what we're doing. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, so in talking about the rest of your catalog, we talked a little bit about Drink and Cry. We talked about Okay Later. And you just said that Okay Later is like your Before He Cheats. You also talked about how Carrie Underwood is like one of your musical influences that you look up to. Do you think about other artists, or do you have any other musical influences that kind of have helped shape your catalog in a certain way, where you're like, oh, I also think this song is reminiscent of this artist, or this song is, kind of like this song that I used to love a long time ago. Do you have anything else like that?
I think this new era of music, I guess my EP, these 5 songs that are coming out, I'm not going to compare them to her because they're in no way, shape, or form her. But I've been listening to a lot of Etta James and really deep diving into Etta. And again, in no world my music is like that. However, when I really kind of got into her music, and it was more about the feeling than it was like the perfection of notes or you know, keeping it classy, if you will. Like Etta made you feel things when she's singing, right? And she
Oh yeah.
go in for the notes. And so it's really interesting because right before I went to LA, for some reason out of nowhere, I got on like the Etta side of Spotify and I was just deep diving. And so a lot of this music honestly kind of has a lot of blues elements and soul elements in it. That kind of my whole life I'd been told I'm very bluesy and I was very drawn to that music, but I never really leaned into it. And then because I saw Etta do it and I was so just, starstruck, and obviously she's such a great, and she makes you really feel, I said, all right, I'm going to kind of lean into that a little bit more and feel more confident in honing into that side of me. And so again, the Chris Stapletons, the Etta, there's just that soul. And that's kind of what I'm now with this new music trying to kind of bring into my music is more of the feeling, and not just amazing lyrics and amazing words. It's more of now when I'm singing these amazing words and these amazing lyrics, can you actually convey the feeling? And so I think that has definitely, with that big high note in Okay Later, I want kind of a Steven Tyler moment, if you will.
For sure.
So that one definitely goes that way. But for the most part, I mean, a lot of these songs, I'm kind of finding myself through putting them out. It's never been I know exactly who I am right now. It's been where am I right now? And then I can kind of look back in hindsight and say, okay, I can kind of see a brand, if you will, forming, or like who I am or what I am. But it's never been, I know exactly who I am. And I think that's life in general. So
yeah,
my music
the natural
representation.
Right. It's like the natural progression of like things that happen and how they, fall within your timeline. And I was gonna say, you talked about Etta James and Chris Stapleton being soulful, being bluesy. And I think too, and this is something that I got from a lot of the songs that I listened to from you, there's like an authenticity, I think, to Chris Stapleton, Etta James, and like I hear that a lot in the singles that I've heard from you. So I'm excited to see. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the rest of the EP holds. Do you have a release date on that EP? EP?
I believe the EP, I'm going to say, my team will be like, Arnold, you know this. I want to say March 14th. March 14th.
Dope. Okay, cool.
Yes, is the date for that. And I believe we're done with singles for this year. I've got a Christmas project that I'm bopping out right after Thanksgiving, which is very fun. It'll be primarily on social media, but we'll kind of, tease it in there. But I kind of went back a little bit into more of that vintage sound and things like that. So I'm really excited. We recorded on very vintage microphones and things like that, kind of like Etta did. So then I'll be dropping the fourth single on my EP called Bottomless Tears in February. And then I'll wrap it up with my EP called First Rodeo. You guys are the first ones hearing the title. I know it's kind of crazy, but First Rodeo.
That's so exciting.
And the title of my EP. So that'll be out, in March.
March 14th. Okay, cool. Well, yay, I get a little extra exclusive preview there. That's pretty neat. Oh my gosh.
There we go.
How cool. Well, okay, so and you have a lot of things coming up before that March EP release date. Let's talk a little bit. You also have your Whiskey Jam debut on December 9th. We love Ward. So tell me what Whiskey Jam means to you. Tell me what like playing the stage at Whiskey Jam means for you.
So genuinely, when I first visited Nashville, I was 16 years old and I was bopping up and down Demumbrian, with my parents. I couldn't even get into bars. And I remember we were just walking everywhere, but not obviously physically going in. And we passed by a Whiskey Jam. And I remember being like, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. And I very distinctly remember someone coming outside and being like, this is where all the greats play before they become great and all this stuff. And in my head at 16, I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to play Whiskey Jam. So fast forward, I moved to Nashville. Finally, I graduated college and I moved here when I was 20 years old. And I started hearing people doing Whiskey Jam, right? And, to do Whiskey Jam, I think it's pretty prestigious, right? So I wanted to make sure that I had my music down, my sound down, and kind of direction in which I was going. And so for years, I'd really known people that did it. And I've been like, maybe it's time, maybe it's not. I've even talked to Ward many times. He's like, whenever you're ready. But I finally, with this music, was like, you know what? I love my live show. I'm very confident in the musicians that I play with. They're some of my very best friends. And I was like, I think it's time for the Whiskey Jam debut. So I talked to my team and they were like, yeah, let's get it on the book. So it's been very much a long time coming, almost probably 10 years since I said I'm going to play
Wow.
Whiskey Jam to it happening. And so it'll be a very big night. My parents are coming in from Illinois and all my friends will be there. So we love.
Yeah. I'm hoping that like the listeners out there have an idea what Whiskey Jam is, because I feel like if they don't, they probably don't follow me very much. Because I feel like I share all that stuff all the time. I feel like I'm there all the time. So well, and like you said, Whiskey Jam is where all the greats play before they become greats. So I'm interested to see, how your career goes after that day. Not that that's, like a jumping off point, but it is very much like one of those, staples in Nashville that everybody wants to achieve, Yeah.
The locals know where it's at. And I think there's something so special too about us being in Nashville. And as our city grows, there's still little secrets that us locals have. And I think Whiskey Jam, like, yes, it's very renowned and of course people know what it is, but it's still our thing. And that's where you go if you're trying to find people that, really love what they do and have honed in their craft. And again, a lot of the greats that are on, CMT, CMA, and all these, they played Whiskey Jam. And I find it hilarious when you look up photos of like Jelly Roll and Luke Combs, and like they look like such babies, on these things. And putting ourselves in that same mindset of we all had a journey before, and everyone thinks, oh, these people made it overnight. It's like, no, they were grinding for 10 plus years before they had their Whiskey Jam debut, or before, for me, it'll be 6 years before it really worked out. And so it's not really overnight success. It's just you finally have people start believing in you and getting that platform like Whiskey Jam to really show off your skills. So yeah, very fun.
For sure. Yeah. Have you thought about a set list for your Whiskey Jam debut? Yeah.
So I believe we get 3 songs, right?
3, yeah.
3, yeah. Yes. So yes, from my understanding, I'm definitely gonna do First Rodeo, the title track.
Yes.
The live version, y'all. It's actually my favorite song to sing. Okay, I am like, talk about Etta James on that one. I'm in the rafters with some of those notes. So it's very fun to really sing hard. So First Rodeo, Drink and Cry, definitely. And right now I'm either between Okay Later or honestly Bottomless Tears, because Bottomless Tears is a little more of a down song, and just for some variety. But those probably between those 4 songs, I'll narrow it down.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I guess, but yeah.
For sure. Well, okay, so I know that December 9th, that's kind of wrapping up the year. Do you have any other things going on at the end of 2024, going into 2025 before the EP release?
So honestly, I have a residency at the Virgin Hotel every Friday, which has been
dope. That's fabulous.
So cool. It's very fun. I love it. And we do a mix of covers and originals. And anytime I release a song on a Friday, we'll have a somewhat release party and everyone just gets together. And it's very much become like a local hang, which is very cool. Pretty much for the end of the year, right now I'm in the process of booking out my very first tour. Hopefully in the spring, March, when we drop the EP, to like top of May-ish, June, we're going to kind of go for a little mini tour around the US. And so right now we're just in the process of getting ready for that. Lord, I never knew before I jumped into the booking world that how much work and back end. I'm like, let's just get a band together and go. And my team's like, okay, hang on, girl.
Where are you going?
Exactly. So that's really where we're at. And then again, just dropping this Christmas project and doing a lot of things various, around Nashville and whatnot. So yeah.
Fun. Okay. Well, and you kind of talked a little bit about the Midwest, upper, to talk about your tour. And that's originally where you're from. You said that too when you were talking about your producer. Tell me what it was like growing up in Illinois. Was the country music scene like thriving there? Was it like something that, was not really? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So I am like, when people think I'm from Illinois, they automatically say, oh, you're from Chicago. Absolutely not. I am from a literal cornfield, hours south of Chicago. So we had no cities. I mean, nothing, no light pollution. I mean, when it was dark where I'm from.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And, very much loved it. But my town, we had 600 people at my high school, very small. But the country music scene, I mean, definitely a lot of real country boys, right? Like a lot of boys would wear actual cowboy boots to
I
school,
was about to say actual cowboys.
like,
Yes, got it.
we're talking they had mud on their shoes, it's like they were
Yeah.
working in them things. So very much that way. But the country music scene specifically, I think being in the Midwest, it was kind of like the music from all over the country just kind of found us. It wasn't like, in Texas, there's a very specific sound, or in these specific places. Where I'm from, it's just kind of a free for all. And whatever reached us was, whether it was the top 40 or top 100 or what was on the radio at the time, it greatly influenced you. And especially kind of when I was growing up, online streaming platforms, they weren't the biggest. So you weren't really going out and doing that. But my first CD ever was Carrie Underwood, the Some Hearts album, and then a Kelly Clarkson. So those were like my two, which is very funny, the very pop country. It's funny how that translates into what I do now. But yeah, a lot of the music, again, it was just what was on the radio, and I sponged it up. I loved Adele. I loved things like that. But I think it was Carrie that I lived and breathed for, truly. But the country music scene was huge, definitely. I mean, everyone loved country, probably primarily listened to it more than any genre in my hometown. But yeah, just nuts, free for all, definitely.
Yeah. Well, and I love hearing that too, because I know you've talked a lot about Carrie, but what a beautiful inspirational artist to like mold yourself, or like to think about whenever you're writing and doing all those things. Because honestly, she's like one in a million, I mean, to have the talent, to have the compassion that she does for her art and for other people. You know what I mean? Like it's such a gift.
So beautiful. As a child too, you're like, I'm going to have my hair long and blonde and look at me go. So yeah. I'm like, can you tell I love Carrie Underwood? I don't know what you mean. But no, she was just hugely wonderful. And I remember even watching interviews very young. She was always so positive about people and just always chose to see the glass half full. And honestly, there's so much darkness in the world, right? And the older you get, you really start looking at that. And I think when you're a child, the ignorance is so blissful and you just kind of carry on and you don't think about it. But when you get older, you realize not only are these people lovely like Dolly or like Carrie Underwood, but they're like choosing to be lovely because they're not stupid. Like we all, as you get older, like we know what's going on, but you can have a choice in the day to either be a very kind human being and spread goodness, or you can be hateful and, spread that. And I think so when I see that impact and how it had on younger children, I'm like, oh my goodness, all I want to do is make that same impact and really put, music out that you feel things and that is positive, and also create a platform where, people are positively influenced and it really makes their day better. So anyway, that was my spiel about the impact truly of good music and good people that do good old country music. Yeah.
I believe it. Oh my gosh, absolutely. I feel like I'm one of those people too that's just, trying to be as positive and optimistic no matter what comes your way. And sometimes it's hard to do. Yeah. So I know where you're coming from.
Totally. Yes. It's nice. And that's why when you have music too, that allows you to kind of express that angst, it's okay. But then we always bring it on back and just remember that I think the most important thing is just to be kind to people, because everyone is, we're all struggling through some things, but it's good. Yeah,
that's right. Sure. How beautiful. Let me ask you this, okay? And this is probably where we're going to start wrapping it up. Talking a little bit about your Christmas project. Is it all original stuff, or is it mostly like Christmas holiday favorites that we know and love? Tell me more about it.
Honestly, so I've always been tempted to write my own Christmas music, truly. And I think that's going to be a very future thing where I get into that world. But right now, I got extremely excited this year to cover some of the greats and cover songs that, I really didn't grow up singing, to be honest. These are more that really kind of expand into music that's just sonically beautiful and traditional. We have Please Come Home for Christmas. So it's a series dropping.
Ooh, love it.
So good, right? And these are songs too that if you really look into the archives, there are so many, the Eagles did it. All these people have done their different versions. And so it was very exciting for me to listen to 50, 60 versions of each of these songs and then pick and choose the best sonic elements of, I love the guitar part and whatever. So we kind of created our own sound with these. My actual drummer, Phil Leone, he actually took this project under his wing and we really collaborated. And he produced the whole thing with, these vintage microphones, and Elton Charles, he's got a studio in East Nashville, and all of us are very, very good friends. And so the whole day was very much just a fun little Christmas moment, but then, we just happened to have a cameraman, and really cranked out some of this music, got it mixed, and then, obviously it'll be yours. But we have Please Come Home for Christmas, Santa Baby, of course. You have to do
Of
Santa Baby.
course, yeah.
I have Oh Holy Night that will be dropping on Christmas because, you
Oh,
gotta.
yay.
And then the third one, Blue Christmas, because, you gotta go for it.
Yeah.
Those
Those all are like perfectly soulful, jazzy, bluesy. Like that's perfect for your voice. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear those. Yeah.
I'm very excited how these turned out. And they very much allow me to kind of do this thing that I don't necessarily always get to do in the pop country world, but now I get to lean into it and experiment. And I think you guys are going to love them. I really do. So.
That's so exciting. I'm a sucker for great country Christmas music. I really am.
There's just something about it, right? It's what the really funny part about this too is we did the Christmas project. I mean, we filmed it mid-October. So I bought a couple Christmas trees, from the Hobby Lobby, and we did them for all the decoration and whatnot. And then after that, I'm like, well, what am I going to do with a Christmas tree? This Christmas tree is 9 feet tall, and I didn't really put the pieces together because it looked beautiful in the shot. Anyway, I'm like, well, I can't return this Christmas tree. So I set up a Christmas tree second week of October, and it's been just shining that whole night. I mean, I had Christmas in like freaking October, and now everyone's putting their trees up, and I'm like, you're late to the party. They're like, Onoleigh, it's November, first week of November. Come on. I've never been on it, but my Christmas project really pushed me to get it together for Christmas this year. So we are having ourselves a season. Okay.
You are in the holiday season. Yes, you are in. You have found the spirit. Oh my gosh. I love that. Onoleigh, it was so great to talk with you today. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to or anything else that you'd like to promote before we hop off the call today?
Oh, goodness. Oh, that's a great question. So I think in general, my beautiful team is fabulous. And I know this isn't an awards, acceptance speech, but
still, you got to let them know.
I learned this year truly that, you are what you are the sum of your parts, and I've tried for years and years and years to find my team, to find my people. And, that is the process. Whenever, I got to Nashville, I said, all I got to do is find a manager, find a publicist, check all these boxes and we'll make it. And, there's a lot of trial and error. And it's taken me 6 years to really find people that I love and I trust and have the same vision as me and the same work ethic. Anyway, so this year with this music, it's not only representing the music, it's representing the team behind it. And all of the beautiful, opportunities that have arisen because they really do believe in the end goal. So I would love to shout out my team. And then ultimately just, everyone listening to the music, oh my goodness, it's a little bit overwhelming. Actually, I think we hit 85,000 monthly listeners today, which is like crazy. And I couldn't do any of this if people weren't listening to the music and reaching out constantly and, giving me feedback on it and what they love and what they don't love, but we love it all.
That's right.
It's so good though. So really it's a team effort in whether you're listening or creating or promoting. And I'm just in a really good spot. I'm very thankful. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad that I could share that with our listeners today. And I'm so glad that I got to hear from you. Now I'm a super big fan. Thank you so much for coming on. And I can't wait to follow along and see what else is in the mix for you this year and next. Yeah.
Yes, I hope we talk soon, and maybe I'll see you at the Whiskey Jam on December 9th.
Oh, yeah, that sounds awesome. Okay, sounds great. Listeners out there, make sure that you go stream OK Later. That dropped back on November 1st. Be on the lookout for Onoleigh's Christmas project that's dropping with those awesome songs that she listed. And y'all have a great day. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.